Mike McCool here. I'm in the Royal Examiner studio, and with me today is Brian Sowers. Brian is with Richard's Bus Line in Luray, where your headquarters, but we see you all over Front Royal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, from Warren County Public Schools is one of our biggest customers. We do a lot of work with Randolph-Macon Academy, Warren County Parks and Recreation, churches in the area. So we have a lot of activity in the Front Royal.
Well, we know one of your drivers, Ed Richards. He's been driving you for at least 30 years or more, maybe. I don't know, a long time.
Yeah, I think he started out with, he was he's the band director at Randolph-Macon Academy. He started out doing that, and he was on trips, and I think over the course of a few years, he decided, hey, this might be a nice side job for me. So he started doing that on weekends.
And he loves it. He absolutely loves it. He doesn't. He loves it. He loves it. And he called me the other day, and he said, guess what? There's going to be 1,000 buses going to Washington, D.C. to kind of highlight this problem that this particular industry is in. They're open and ready to go, but no customers. And so tell us some of the customers that you kind of fill us in on the bus industry. We see it, but we really don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, the bus industry, our basic clientele, our job is to obviously take groups of people and take them to events, excursions, to places with larger groups of people. So our primary customers are schools. We also do college athletics. In addition to that, we do a lot of work for churches, parks and recreation groups. We also transport military, Department of Defense. In addition to that, we help out in evacuations, emergency evacuations with FEMA. So when there's hurricanes, the people need to get evacuated out of coastal cities. We're the ones that are doing that. So we do a lot of last-minute work. We do a lot of things that are prepped 6 months in advance, and we also schedule tours and take people to various attractions throughout the country.
They're the ones that take you to places where it's hard to drive and park your car.
Exactly. Yeah, which is a key thing because our buses can hold up to 56 people.
Right.
So if you're going into a place like Washington D.C., for example, we're one vehicle transporting 50-odd people as opposed to taking 30 or 40 vehicles and trying to either A, find parking, B, congesting the roads and that sort of thing.
Right. They always seem to have places for buses to park, don't they?
Yeah,
they're not close, but they always...
exactly. Yeah, DC is a little bit of a challenge. They do have designated spots, but it's about a mile or so away from where the activities are. But they do have spots for us.
Well, we see buses on the road, and it used to be, the Greyhound and Continental Trailways and all these bus lines, and they've kind of disappeared.
Yeah,
they've come back as regional lines.
Yeah, they do exist in some regional efforts. They help still with people getting from rural areas into city areas, but as far as like daily line runs to DC or anything like that, we don't do that anymore. The last line run we had, we actually used to take people from Page County and bring them down to the Avtex in Front Royal when it was open. So we did that for years and years until the Avtex closed in the late 80s, early 90s.
And you see the commuter buses running, but buses in general are like the stagecoach. They're kind of left over from the of our early mass transit.
Absolutely.
We just don't. It's like truckers. We need them, but we don't really see them. We complain about them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I guess you're in the same boat. So what's the plan? What did you accomplish on this tour through Washington, D.C.?
What we're hoping to accomplish, as far as transportation industry is concerned, the airlines, Amtrak, the transit systems, they've all been given federal funding over the last month or two as far as helping them out because they're obviously affected as well. All major transportation.
Well, they're visible.
They're visible, right. Yeah, we're kind of behind the scenes, but they've been given monies in the tune of up to $75 billion.
Wow.
The airlines with the majority of that. And we, as a motor coach industry, have received zero as far as funding is concerned. So what we basically went yesterday, just to make a presence, we had approximately 1,000 motor coaches. We don't have the final tally yet. They were staged at 3 different areas, and we basically lined up and was just traveling through the downtown D.C. area to make Congress aware that we're here. There were companies that came from as far as Alaska and drove their buses cross country. There was numerous coaches. There was 12 that left Los Angeles last Friday. You think to get from Los Angeles to Virginia is a 4.5-day drive. So in addition to a lot of time on their hands, that showed the urgency of this because people were spending thousands of dollars just to get here from the West Coast, and they're spending a week or two of their life just for this one excursion. So We basically it was coordinated through our national associations, and with the police department actually helped set us up as far as traffic. So we were able to get through DC, and we're basically, our ask is we're looking for $15 billion in the form of grants and loans. So we're not looking for a handout per se. We're just looking for something to help us with our expenses until the business comes back.
Right.
Because we're anticipating it, not coming back for quite some time. Once the economy starts opening tomorrow, we're not even remotely in the picture as far as that's concerned.
You're kind of like the same business that we are at our national media services. We're open, but our customers are like musicians and entertainers.
Yeah.
They're your customer.
Right.
Your customers are their customers.
Absolutely.
And they'll be the last to come back as far as sports and groups of people. And so there's no pent up demand.
No.
They're not like going to come back and you're going to work 24 hours a day.
That's right.
It's just going to start from that point forward.
Yeah, I mean, 50% of our business for the entire year is in the spring.
Right.
So March, April, and May, and again, primarily there's school trips and college athletics. And that's, no one wants to go to the DC Zoo outside in January. So because of weather, so everything's planned in March, April, and May. So obviously that came to a screeching halt when schools were closed. Summer, at the moment, basically everything's been canceled through June at least. So, we're hoping that some things maybe will start coming back in fall, but right now it's too early to determine that.
Well, and these buses a lot of them are probably leased and on payments.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're expensive.
A brand new motor coach is over $500,000 per bus.
Yeah.
So.
And how many do you have?
We have 11 plus a minibus that we use for weddings. We do a lot of wedding transportation to farms. And
that's another thing that's completely.
Correct. I mean, that's been halted. We had numerous weddings planned for spring, and they've been moved to fall. A few actually have moved to 2021, because the venues can't house them right now.
Right. Like you say, there's no pent up demand doesn't just happen.
Yeah. We would do
it's got to be phased.
Absolutely. Just like Nationals games, we had trips planned weekly to go to a Nationals park and a couple games to Camden Yards, the Orioles games this summer. And again, as far as we know, we don't know when that'll come back, but that, of course, has been canceled at least through midsummer. Right.
There's a lot involved in like even the business. We have printing presses and things like that, if you don't have need, you still got to pay these big payments.
Absolutely, yeah.
Big payments.
The payments are huge, and insurance. I mean, liability insurance for us is our largest expense. That's astronomical.
And if you own it, the state requires you to insure it.
Right. Absolutely.
It's just kind of like it's a vicious circle, and no fault of your own.
And absolutely.
You're not being bailed out. It's not like some of the states that want to be bailed out for mismanagement and blame it on Corona.
Yeah, that's the frustrating part. I think that's for a lot of industries. But but like we said, going back to yesterday, as far as the ask for money is concerned, the statistics show that the airlines move about 700 million passengers a year. The motor coach industry moves approximately 600 million. So we're behind them as far as what the numbers are that's moved. And they're given over $50 million in assistance while we've been given zero.
Well, I read something the other day where the TSA normally screens 2.5 to 3 million people a day, and they only screened 190,000.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's a huge,
Sure.
And we still have to virtually have the same amount of facility and people working, just like you do. Whether you have any business or not, you still have to keep people around and trained, and it's not, and it requires a special license and training and safety and mechanics.
And that's difficult in a time when a lot of companies their business has declined. Ours has been completely shut off.
Right.
We've had absolutely zero revenue coming in since the second week of March.
Right. Well, at least on the Royal Examiner, that's when we started it. I thought, well, I don't want to get another printing press to print a newspaper, so we'll try this digital delivery.
Great.
But we are reinventing ourselves, and I think it's kind of forced some businesses. You have a long history in your business. You've been around for how many years?
My grandfather started the company with his brother in 1944.
Wow, 1944.
So, yes.
So you have some history. You've reinvented yourself many times over the years, and have evolved with the technology and the transportation requirements. So I'm sure that you'll be one of the few maybe that'll be lucky enough to survive. But we're going to have lots of these companies. There's over 3,000 companies you said.
Yeah, there's over 3,000 companies in the country. Employs approximately 100,000.
It's amazing.
People. in different forms, whether it be from mechanics to tour guides to office staff to bus cleaners to administrative people. So it's a big industry that we don't really notice. We don't notice we see a bus every once in a while, but we don't really notice that in times past. Absolutely.
But it's really a valuable service that our country has. That when they say we keep people moving. What did you have on the? I seen a picture of your bus. What did you put on the side of it?
The national organization sent these 22-foot banners to be put on the sides of each of the buses, and they said different things. Ours said keep buses, or buses move America.
It does.
Is what ours said. There was others that talked about move America's military, or America's athletes, or America's youth, or helps in FEMA, that sort of thing. So all the different buses yesterday in D.C. had various signs. There was about a dozen different themes, and they were put on the different motor coaches.
And I read too where the Europeans complain about Americans not having a mass transit system, and we do. We have a more individualized system. We have the automobile. We use our highway system, and buses move America. You're right. Buses move people in slower than in our airlines. So it's a combination of a lot of transportation things that we just don't. I don't think people realize.
Absolutely.
Realize how much it is.
Yeah, so that's our goal. We're just trying, and we've got that a lot on such media as Facebook and YouTube. Yesterday, there was tons of comments on there from the general public that said, "Gee, I never thought about this, or never thought how this would affect you as an industry." So, I think we got some good awareness out there yesterday. Now we're just hoping and being patient and hoping that Congress will listen. And
sometimes you got to knock people upside the head to get their attention.
Absolutely, that's correct.
Pay attention here.
Right.
But and that's kind of what you did yesterday when you're driving through D.C. At least you made the people of D.C. aware of you.
Yep, absolutely.
And it gets on the news, and you'll get some coverage out of it.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Hopefully our politicians will pay attention. It seems like they're bailing out the big boys and big companies, but this industry is made up of little companies.
It's all mom and pop companies for the most part. I mean, the average motor coach company is less than 10 buses. They're all generational, multi-generational.
This is one industry that the big boys couldn't make it work.
Right.
You know what I mean? They couldn't make the buses work.
Yep.
And it takes an entrepreneurial spirit to keep America moving. I think that's what it takes.
Yep.
It's great.
It does.
But it is interesting, and I think we'll all come out different.
Absolutely.
And we just have hope. And I think the president is willing to get the country moving again if we can just get some people off. What did Roosevelt say? Is fear is what we fear. And I think fear right now is what's is holding back. I think we know what to be safe. People know common sense.
Right.
And I think, I was down. I took a trip last week to Virginia Beach for doing some work, and people are out and about, but the malls are empty. There's the cars, but people are out still on the street walking, and they're still out there, and they're anxious to get back. And you hear the people talking we want to get back to work.
Right.
And we're not little children. I think we know how to be safe.
Absolutely.
And I think it's that fear that we need to overcome and not do crazy stuff. But
and our industry is looking at things right now. There's different companies researching new cleaning products and that sort of thing, because obviously sanitation has always been a concern, and every motor coach we have has been cleaned after every single trip, inside and out thoroughly. But they're looking at different things. They're looking at electrostatic machines that
UV
can help
lights,
with that, UV lights, and it's a variety of things. So that's in the works, and that's certainly something that will be part of the future.
You'll have to go so the windows open and the fresh air comes through.
Exactly.
Like the old buses,
Right.
But one thing about a bus, it doesn't have a middle seat.
No, it doesn't have a middle seat.
Everything
is 2 on each side. Absolutely.
See, the airlines want to cut out their middle seat.
Right.
So, hey, we don't have a middle seat. Maybe that will be your new logo. No middle seat.
No middle seat, exactly.
But when people do travel, they travel as families. So they're sitting next to their pet person that they travel there with all the time.
Absolutely.
So it may be a safer way to travel than we realize.
I think you're right.
Because we'll check them when they get on, and we can control that environment.
Yep.
And compared to an airline, you don't know who, what, when, and where.
Absolutely correct.
I've made a lot of bus trips in my younger days, and I remember them. it's like you say, it takes a long time to go across America on a bus.
Yeah.
They still do it, but
they still do it. Yeah,
they
absolutely.
still do it, but it's great. Well, look, Brian, I really appreciate you coming in and making us aware of what's happening in the bus industry, and I'm sure we'll put some pictures of their tour through DC on the in the story, and get some contact information about Richard's Bus Line. So if you're planning a trip in the fall,
yes,
I think we'll be open, and we'll always have that hope. And think about Richard's Bus Line. They'll move your party from point A to point B.
Absolutely.
It's a great thing. And I know Ed, he'd be looking to get back to work.
Yes, he is. All right.
Thanks again, Brian.
Thank you.